Before you chase the next opportunity, take a moment to confirm you're actually facing the right direction. Most people are sprinting through life with their compass spinning, getting tired instead of getting closer. Alignment isn't a luxury. Alignment isn't a luxury. Alignment is the multiplier that determines whether your effort becomes progress or exhaustion. Today, we're going to slow down just enough to bring that compass into focus. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths. A reminder that clarity isn't random, it's guided. There's a pattern I've watched play out over and over again. Someone feels behind in life, so they start pushing harder. They take on more projects, more commitments, more responsibilities. And for a while it feels productive, like motion equals progress. But then the fatigue shows up. Not the kind you fix with rest, but the deep kind. The kind that comes from effort without direction. From building without blueprint. From moving without clarity. Most people don't slow down long enough to ask the one question that would actually change everything. Am I aligned with what I'm building? The truth is, alignment isn't about slamming on the brakes or doing less. It's about making sure the energy you're given is pointed toward a future that matches who you are, what God placed in you, and the life you're actually meant to build. This video is about that alignment, how to recognize when you've lost it, how to regain it, and how to move forward with intention instead of pressure. The first sign you're out of alignment isn't always loud. It usually starts as friction. That quiet internal resistance that shows up before you begin something. The heaviness you feel when you're acting out of obligation instead of conviction. Friction is the soul's early warning system, and most people ignore it. They feel the hesitation and think it's laziness. They feel the resistance and assume they just need to push through. They feel the lack of clarity and treat it like a lack of discipline. But friction is information. It's telling you that something in your direction, your pace, or your priorities is off. When God is nudging you toward a new level of clarity, He often starts by creating discomfort in the current one. So instead of judging the friction, observe it. Where is it showing up? When does it appear? Does it increase when you think about a specific environment, person, or commitment? When you pay attention to friction instead of bulldozing past it, you start hearing the difference between what's truly yours and what's simply familiar. Once you notice the friction, the next step is to identify the pattern. God rarely speaks through randomness. He speaks through repetition, and your life does too. Every frustration, every desire, every moment of peace, they're all data points. But because we rarely slow down enough to collect the data, everything around us feels louder than everything within us. Within us. To identify the pattern, start asking deeper questions. When do I feel most connected to purpose? What activities drain me faster than they should? Where do I lose my sense of clarity? What thoughts keep returning, no matter how much I try to ignore them? A pattern always emerges. Sometimes it points to a misaligned environment. Sometimes a misaligned assignment. Misaligned assignment. Misaligned assignment. Identity. The version of yourself you're acting from, not the version you're becoming. Patterns don't lie. And when you identify the version you're becoming, patterns don't lie. And when you identify the pattern honestly, you begin to understand not just what's wrong, but what's next. What pattern has been repeating in your life that you've been avoiding? Here's where alignment becomes momentum. You don't need to change everything. You just need to choose the next aligned step. People get overwhelmed because they think alignment requires a massive life overhaul. But alignment rarely starts big. It usually begins with one small intentional step that confirms you're ready for the next one. Maybe the aligned step is simplifying your commitments. Maybe it's returning to a habit you abandoned. Maybe it's starting something that feels small but meaningful. Or maybe it's finally releasing something that used to make sense but no longer matches who you are. When you take one aligned step, your internal compass recalibrates. Clarity improves, your energy returns, your confidence rebuilds, and momentum becomes natural, not forced. Alignment clears the fog so direction can appear. Picture someone who's been grinding for months. They're doing everything right, working hard, staying consistent, showing up. But internally, something is off. They feel that quiet friction. But instead of pausing, they push harder. Eventually, the fatigue hits. Not physical fatigue, but identity fatigue. The feeling of doing a lot but becoming very little. And that fatigue forces a moment of honesty. First, they notice the friction. They realize it always shows up before specific tasks, the ones they committed to for the wrong reasons. Then they identify the pattern. They recognize they feel most alive in a different area, one they kept sidelined because it didn't seem practical at the time. Finally, they take the aligned step, not quitting everything, not flipping their whole life. Just one intentional shift that reflects who they're becoming, not who they were. And slowly, their clarity returns. Their energy lifts. Their direction sharpens. Not because they did more, but because they aligned first. So we come back to the rhythm. Notice the friction, the early indicator that something's off. Identify the pattern, the repeated signal guiding you toward clarity. Choose the aligned step, the action that moves you forward with intention instead of pressure. Effort without alignment drains you. Effort with alignment transforms you. If you're ready to move with more clarity this week, download the free guide below. It's designed to help you recognize the patterns, find the alignment, and take the next intentional step. Your direction matters, and it deserves your attention.